shows us what interest we're gonna have in this sewer. I wanna announce who some of our guests who we gotta go through handling this situation. First, I wanna introduce part of my boards here. Ron Biscuit, will you stand up, hold your hand? He's the board member. Elsa Cockrell back there is a board member. And the other two board members are not here yet, they might show up. And go right on down the line. We have Mr. Paul Mueller. He's the man that can tell us to go or stop. The lady next door is Tracy with the health center here. So if you got any problems, she's the lady to see. So them two are the main one of the sewer operation. Up here is the Bart Carmen. He's our engineer with Beatty. That's his helper. And this is my advisor right in the middle.
I like that.
And he's the one that's putting this all together. Plus, he did the one we had over there, and he's the one doing this one here. He really knows how to put these projects together. So we're getting ready to start, and I'm gonna if he wants, I'll let you be first, Steve.
All right, great.
Huh?
That'd be great.
You want to pass?
I will.
Okay.
Just a second.
It's Steve Etcher with Boone's Lake.
I wonder if you're ever going to actually introduce me or just call me
Steve.
advisor.
The money game. That seems a little bit.
The man with the money. Pardon.
Put that down so
The
you
man that finds the money for you.
That's right.
Say it that way.
And that's really what our job is. We're a small agency that works with local communities to help them find state and federal assistance to tackle community problems. And the problem we're trying to address in this particular geography is the inability of the private septic systems to properly treat the waste. There's a lot of effluent that's running on the environment. Now, obviously, we want to try to clean that up. The best way to do that is to put in a public sewer system, a system where you're just basically connecting via pipe to it. It's being transported to a permitted wastewater treatment facility. You pay the bill, you're done. You don't have to worry about future compliance issues. You don't have to worry about maintaining an operating system. It's really going into a publicly permitted facility. To construct public infrastructure like a sewage system is very pricey. It costs a lot of money nowadays to do anything related to construction, and wastewater systems are no exception. When we started this process a while back, the first thing we did was brought engineering on board to say, what would it cost to do this portion of the project? What are we looking at? What are all design alternatives? What is going to be the most feasible solution for this community to pursue? We don't want to just come out and say, here's the perfect solution for you. Oh, by the way, it's the most expensive. That's not our goal. Our goal is to try to create an option that not only brings you into compliance, is something that you as a district can continue to own and maintain, but also we try to keep it as affordable as we possibly can for the homeowners. And because we're trying to keep it affordable, that's why there's been some delay since our initial conversations about this particular phase of the project. The original project cost is really about $1.6 million to put in what we need to put in to properly treat the waste in that particular community. Now, the district could go out and say, okay, we're going to borrow $1.6 million, and we could have started this project several months ago and put it in the ground. I think you all would have been upset at what that would have looked like on your monthly sewer bill, because to pay back $1.6 million is a pretty good chunk of change for the limited number of users that are actually going to be using the system. So what we've been doing is trying to find the cheapest financing that's available for the district to borrow from, and to find the most amount of grant dollars that we can go after to help offset this project cost. We worked with Lincoln County Commission, we worked with the City of Troy, and we worked with the Public Water Supply District number 2 to file a lot of different loan and grant applications. And we're at the point now where we have all the financing committed that we need to complete this project. We've been able to offset this cost of construction with $500,000 in grant money. The beauty about grant monies is you don't have to pay it back. It is basically an investment by the federal government into your project. It does not require interest. It does not require repayment. It is there to kind of bring those costs down for you. So that is a real positive thing that's happened over the past 6 months while we've been working with the district and the county. So what we're looking at right now is a project that's funded. We've done the preliminary work, the environmental, everything is kind of progressing well. But we're to the point now we wanted to communicate to you two or three things. One, what's this gonna cost me? Because that seems to be the question forefront on everybody's mind. And the second question is usually, well, when is it gonna be done? And what we want to try to do is succinctly answer those questions for you tonight. And then if you have some very specific questions related to the technicality of the project, where's the line going, is wastewater flowing uphill or downhill, I will defer those to the engineers, and you can have one-on-one conversations with them, particularly about how this project may affect your property. Then the second thing, or the third thing we want to try to talk about just briefly is what is this going to cost you as a homeowner? Not in terms of what is it going to cost me each month to use the utility, but what are going to be my costs and my investment into this particular project. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about those three things tonight. First, I'm going to work backwards through that list, actually. First, what your cost is going to be as a homeowner in this district that's going to be connecting to the sewer system. The district has already acquired a tap fee. A tap fee is nothing but permission, or it's a license basically to use a public sewer system. It just gives you the authority to send your waste to somebody. The district has already acquired and expended the money necessary, and will expend the remainder of the money necessary to give you permission to hook up to your system, to that public utility. There will be no cost to you directly to get that permission. Your cost will be what it's going to take to physically connect your house or your discharge point or the pipe at your septic tank to the public trunk line. When we put this system in, the collection lines will be put on a publicly owned easement. Because we're dealing with a grant, we cannot spend anything outside of that publicly owned easement. So we'll have it on your property, we'll have it as close to your current discharge point as we can design, but basically your cost is going to be physically running your pipe from that trunk line to your house or to your current discharge point. Whatever that cost is going to be will depend on how far you are from point A to point B. But that will be a cost that you as a homeowner will need to bear to make that connection. Now, what we typically advise a lot of our communities when they do this project is whatever contractors are working, putting in the main trunk line, go to him and negotiate a contract. His equipment's there, his workers are there, or a group of you as homeowners get together and just hire somebody to come knock them all out of your block in one particular event. That way you're not constantly mobilizing and increasing the cost there. So there's some things that you can do to help manage those costs and keep those down. But that will be your upfront cost, is just the construction of that connection line. Your other cost, and I'm going to pass this out. I kind of hesitate to pass this out because you're all going to try to hold me to this, okay? And I don't want to be held to this specifically. What I want to share with you today, you got it? What I want to share with you today is based on what we know today. This is what the cost will likely be for your household to use the system. While they're passing those out, I'm going to kind of explain what this sheet is, and I'll go right down through the numbers for you. What this sheet does is it outlines the specific elements of the project. Here's the cost that we're looking at. Here's what's going to cost us to borrow money. Here's the free grant money that we have. And then we're going to break them down and what it's going to cost to be able to actually pay that debt and operate that system. So if everybody's got a sheet or can look at one, what I've done up here at the top in terms of the project cost, these are the cash outlays that we're going to have to expend through the district to put this system in place. You're going to see it's almost $1.546 million to construct this. They need a couple extra, I kind of forgot the guys next to me. The other related cost that follows that, you can ignore for now. Those will come into play as the system grows, as new users connect to the system. These are costs that the district will have to negotiate and work on. But for now, we look at your total project cost. The total project cost that we have to finance is $1,546,000. The way we're going to do that is put $500,000 in free grant money towards that and borrow through bond financing $1,046,000. What that calculates to is the district will have an annual principal and interest payment of $63,500 per year. There will be 230 users on this system. So each user's portion of that debt is $23.02 per month. Okay, that's what it's going to cost each household per month just to pay the principal and interest. That does not pay for operating the system, maintaining the system, building in replacement funds, building in reserve funds. Right now, the way the system is currently operating, the district has a fee structure where everybody pays a flat minimum of $25 per month. Everybody, if you're connected to the system, you pay $25 a month, and then you pay $4 for every 1,000 gallons of water that you use. The average household in the state of Missouri uses roughly 5,000 gallons of water per month. So if you use the statewide average, the current bill in the district is $45 per month, okay? Because we're spending over $1 million, we're gonna have to adjust this rate. We cannot make this project cash flow at that rate. So what I've done in the bottom section is calculated preliminarily what we think the rates will end up being when the project is complete and operational. That includes the cost of operation, maintenance, and replacement of the system, and that's about $98,000 a month. And you're probably gonna go, why does it cost that much just to flush a toilet? There are a tremendous amount of moving parts, high amount of electricity is consumed. There are fees that the district has to pay to the city of Troy based on every gallon that they flush. That is calculated into that number. Following that is that $63,000 that I talked about earlier. That's how much that you have to pay as a district each year for principal and interest to pay off that loan. Currently, the district pays a little over $10,000 a year in existing debt financing, and that's an ongoing cost to the district until those bonds are retired. So the district has an average annualized cost of over $172,000 to operate this proposed system. You divide that by 230 households over 12 months, you're looking at a monthly sewer bill, if you use the average of 5,000 gallons per month, of $62.61 per month.
Is that
Now,
just for sewer?
That's just for sewer.
And your water is separate.
Your water is separate. Now, as I said, these are just the known numbers that we know today. And I would rather talk in, these are the general ranges that we're gonna be looking at. If, because the economy is what it is, we're finding our bid for construction activities coming in very low, very well under budget. If we can save even 10% in our cost of construction because of the current bidding climate, we may be able to borrow far less than $1,046,000. So we're really gonna try to do that. Secondly, we don't know precisely what it's gonna cost to operate and maintain this system. We can project what we think it's going to be, but if the district can efficiently operate and manage this system and be efficient in their energy consumption, we may be able to cut this number down by 10 or 20% in terms of the ongoing operation and maintenance. Again, that's going to further reduce that monthly bill. So until we get some final costs known, I'm only giving you projected numbers. What I think is worst case scenario numbers. I'd rather have people be surprised that the bill is less than I said versus being angry at me because it's more than what I said. So I'm trying to give you worst case scenarios. The second thing that can really influence these numbers, or third thing, I'm sorry, that can really influence these numbers is right now we have 230 projected users on the system. Over the next several years, as your system continues to grow and new homes are brought into it, you're dividing that annualized cost by a lot larger number, which means your rates will continue to go down as the number of users continue to go up. There will be a slight increase in terms of cost because you're pumping more sewage, but overall you're gonna see a cost savings there as we continue to add new and new users. And I am one that believes our economy will begin to turn around. We will begin to see new home construction. We will begin to see some of this infill development occurring that we kind of expected to happen from 2008 to 2012 that hasn't. As those events happen, we're gonna see savings here that will make these user rates far more palatable. But that's where the cost look as of today, as far as what we know. As far as where are we at and what has to happen next?
Steve, just need a point
Yeah,
of clarification. The
please.
6261 that you're referring to, does that include the $25 base rate that the current users already?
Great question. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. Yes, I was just trying to show you what they're currently paying. We will develop a new rate structure that will come up to this. This would be your total average bill.
We're paying X amount today, I don't know what that is. That includes that.
That includes that, yes, yeah. This is not in addition to, this is what it would be in lieu of what it is now.
That's a big jump for us.
It is, but we're spending over $1 million to put stuff in, and that money has to be paid back. And I've been to a lot of meetings where people are like,
We've already been paying like 7 or 8 years, so much amount, and then all of a sudden we start over again, paying this.
yeah, you know, and that brings up a question that we get a lot of times is, well, why, if I'm already got sewer and I'm only paying $45, why are we growing it and having new people and I gotta pay more? It's just, you're part of a community, and that's kind of how community facilities have to be run.
I understand that, but then we also need to make sure that our board cuts their expenses as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and that's why I said there's a lot of room here in this $98,000 operational figure. And I think as the district gets into that, with the advice of their engineer, they will figure out a way to run this system as efficiently as possible. One of the costs that's in here, this is not necessarily cost going to the district. The district has to pay the city of Troy so much per every gallon of wastewater that they pump. That is included in that $98,000. So not all of that money goes to the district. A lot of that, in fact, probably 2/3 of that goes right to the city of Troy, because that's what they pay to treat their waste. But I understand your point, and yeah, we will.
And so is this gonna help with our water pressure and all that?
It should have, this will have no impact on your water. We don't want wastewater and water connecting. They're completely separate utilities. Okay, this is strictly doing with sewage.
So we won't have as much stench or stink with the sewage?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's kind of funny, we put a system in one community and they all expected the smell to go away overnight. It's gonna take a couple of rainy seasons for the smell to dissipate, and unfortunately, it's just gonna work its way through the environment. But we'll at least stop adding to the problem, and we'll begin to correct the contamination that's going on.
How long does it take for the stench to go away?
I said a couple of rainy seasons. This year, the stench would have been around forever because we didn't get enough rain to kind of really clean out our watersheds.
Because actually, our sewage plant is like right on our property, so.
You will be surprised how quickly that smell dissipates. If you stop adding to the problem, it begins to absorb and dry up. So you'll see
They're a little bit different, they're Emerald Estates, and that plant has to be closed out and moved.
Yes, that
So
plant will be
that'll
removed.
be gone
Yeah.
quicker.
You don't wanna live right next to the plant.
Yes.
That plant's going away.
That's going away. You'll see it immediate.
Yeah, we-
Yeah, that was there. Gone.
Now, will that plant be filled in? That stuff will be taken out and.
Yes, it will be property closed. There's a certain requirements on how you have to close an existing plant, and we'll have to follow that state code. Yeah, great question. The third thing I want to talk about is where are we at in the process? What are the next steps? So you kind of all know where we're at. As I said, we have commitment on all our funding, which is usually the slowest and most arduous process. We've got the preliminary design started. We know what we want to do. We know what the system's going to look like. The engineering firm will now go through the process of doing the final design work. This is where they're gonna have to come out and do a lot of on-site surveying and staking, making sure they got elevations and grades and everything correct. They will actually put together the design of the entire system, that it can then be used to actually bid the work to be done. Once they have the design work completed, they will submit that to the state, to the Department of Natural Resources, for review and permitting. Meanwhile, while they're doing that, from today until the day we send those plans off or even after, the engineer and the district will be working together to identify all the easements that they'll need to actually construct this system. So we will need your cooperation in getting easements so we can actually put these trunk lines in place. Once we have the easements, once DNR has reviewed the plans and given us a construction permit, we're ready to go to bid. The bidding process is about a 30-day publication, and then there's about 30 days of paperwork following that. So once we bid the project, we're probably 60 days from telling somebody, start working. And then when they begin the construction activities, will really be more or less determined by what the weather conditions are at that point. But our hope is to be able to bid this project at the time when we feel we have the most competitive bidding environment out there. And that great bidding environment is usually November through March. So we're gonna try to hit that window of time. If we can bid in February, we've always found those to be the most competitive months to bid. So that's the month we're gonna be targeting. But there's a lot of variables that go into whether or not we can actually make that timeline. Once the construction starts, I believe we've got 240 days probably.
Yeah, it's gonna take over 6 months to get constructed, to go through, clear out trees through some of the wooded area, construct all the lines, hook everything up, and then test all that, and then allow for you to connect each home. Because all those lines have to be approved before homes can be connected. And so it will take a long time. Talking a lot of pipe, going down and getting through and connecting everything. So it will take a long time. And so that's another goal, trying to bid it in the winter, and so that way they have all summer doing the best working weather to do that, to keep our costs down too.
Steve, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
You use standard margin of error. How close are these numbers? Is this a number that was derived from actual data, or is this some number that we're just guessing at?
You mean as
In
far
other
as the
words, could this
construction
1.5
cost?
Yeah. Could this 1.5 be more like 2.5?
No, I would say if the and there's contingencies built in there just to give us a little fluff. These were based off of planned numbers based on current bidding that would have been done through 2012, early 2012. What we're seeing now in later 2012 is those costs, the bid prices are substantially lower than the estimates.
So you've got some contingency built in.
We've got contingency, and we think we've got the numbers fluffed to adjust for anything. Well, we're hoping to see substantial savings when we actually go bid.
And is the money coming from private funding institutions? And if so, is it a fixed interest rate?
What I've proposed here in terms of the rate is what we feel is the top end of the financing margins that we've been working. We are working with a local financial institution, which the district, once they get that finalized, will release that information publicly. And it is a fixed rate for an extended period of time. We're still negotiating the terms. Right now, we're planning everything at 20 years. If we can stretch it out to 25 years or 30 years, that's gonna make your rates even lower.
So would it not make sense to get competitive bidding from other financial institutions rather than limiting ourselves to a particular institution?
Absolutely. It would. What the current financial arrangement is, what they're proposing is less than what the state's subsidized interest rate currently
So you've
is.
got a competitive rate.
You've got a great rate proposed.
You got more than-
That's what I been
Yeah.
working on so long, is getting the money.
If you put this out on the public bond market, your interest rate would be twice what we've got
So
proposed
you've
here.
done a good job there.
Yeah, you've got a really sweet deal because of a local bank helping you out.
Well, the concern that comes to my mind as a citizen, I think if you look at the demographics of the majority of the people that live in the district, $62 is gonna be a strong burden on it. I don't know how they're gonna afford it. Honestly, I don't.
Right. And that's the justification we used to get the grant, because at $1.6 million, the rates were higher and the people could not afford it.
I just don't see how they're gonna pay the water bill.
500,000 is the maximum we can get in a grant. That's the maximum free money we could get for this project, and that's what we have. And that was the justification we used, is the people who live in this community cannot afford an excessive water and or sewer rate. And that's why we want to continue to try to work this number down, because we understand.
And then the other thing I don't think we can bank on, although it's a good thought in theory, I haven't been in the county very long, but if you look at the historical data, there's not been that much construction in the public water supply district that we could say truly, look each other in the eye and say, we're gonna get 30 more users in the next 5 years.
Right, and that's
It's
why
not gonna
I didn't plan that number in here. I'm saying if any of that happens, that's only gonna help.
Okay, and people need to understand that.
Yeah.
What you see here is the very minimum you're gonna pay.
Well, I think it's a realistic worst-case scenario.
Okay.
Because I think we can get cost savings. I think our interest rate will be lower than what we're projecting here. I think our cost of operation will go down.
Okay.
So I'm trying to give you a real scenario, but I'm trying not to disappoint you when the bills actually come out.
Yeah, and that's my concern. We don't wanna lead people to believe that
Right.
it's gonna get better when it probably will not.
I would be hopeful that there would be efficiencies, that we will keep those rates as competitive as we possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah, because ours has gone up, up, up. Our sewer has not stayed the same. It continues to go up.
And unfortunately, that's the climate we're in. It's not this district, it's not just Lincoln
I
County.
understand, that's why people need to know, put this down, but it may not stay.
Oh yeah, 20 years is a long time.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Up.
Yeah.
I have a
Those are great
question.
concerns, and I understand it completely. Yes, sir, sorry.
I'll wait till you're done.
I'm done.
I live on White Oak Estates. My name is Roger Groner, and your concept is very good about more members getting onto the system, the rate will go down, but that's unrealistic. What about our tax base? That works on the same principle right now. More people come into the tax base, it should go down, but it don't. Also, is anybody here from the city of Troy to, tell us, are they gonna lock us in for a certain rate, or, what is it gonna cost us to process our sewerage? Are they gonna let us tap into it now, and then maybe a year later, jack the price up on us?
If
Great question.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and those are very valid concerns. Let me take your first one, was will the number of users really decrease this? 1 or 2 users, you're not gonna see much movement in your rate. If you get some infill and you get 10 users, you may see a little decrease, and that's what we're talking about, is just incremental, moving that number down if we can. I'm not trying to convince anybody that we're gonna add 300 more users and your rate's gonna be half. That's not realistic. Will you get 3 or 4 users in the next year and maybe that trend continue for a couple of years? It's possible, and that's something for consideration. Regarding the city of Troy, the district has been negotiating with the city of Troy for nigh on several years. The city of Troy has agreed to a current rate for both tapping to the system and for discharging into their system. And that rate is fairly fixed as long as what Troy has to do to treat the waste doesn't change. In other words, Troy here 7 years ago had spent $6 million putting in an MBR plant because their current treatment facilities no longer met the compliance for the discharge. So they had to go out and spend a buttload of money, put in a new plant, and that elevated the rates. The current rate agreement that the district has with Troy is basically, yeah, we're going into the MBR plant. In fact, the district is working with them to help them to get a grant to connect to the MBR plant. That MBR plant should be quite satisfactory in meeting all the treatment demands that the city of Troy is gonna have and the district's gonna have for the foreseeable future. Now, that's not to say that in 5 years or 10 years, there's not gonna be a new regulation that says you have to be able to drink the water coming out of this pipe. And if that happens, then your treatment environment changes. So that could increase the city's cost of treating. So it's fairly known, it's fairly predictable, but there's always that chance for a curveball coming out of left field saying that treatment facility no longer maintains or meets compliance, you've gotta do something different. If that happens, that's again additional cost for infrastructure. And those costs will be borne not just by the district, but everybody that taps into the city of Troy's treatment facility.
Okay, thank you.
But
That current treatment plant is the top state-of-the-art thing that can be done right now. There's currently really no better treatment than what that plant can do with membrane bioreactor plant like that.
So the moratorium is canceled now on adding any more sewer?
Well, the problem is the old plant is maxed out. They've gotta get a new force main in to get it over to the new plant.
Okay, what's the time frame on that?
We're already working on that.
We're working.
Funding's put in place, the design is ongoing as we speak. That force line connecting your effluent to the MBR will be in place before these lines are.
Okay, another thing, where it says on here, the value of pre-authorized taps and future proposed, that's $4,000 connection fee.
Right.
Are the landowners supposed to pay that?
No. That was, the district already covered the tap-on fees. We just calculated that value as part of our grant work. What the district is proposing, and Charlie, if I'm wrong, reach over and slap me. All the existing users in the district, water users in the district has already paid for and covered that tap fee cost. If somebody new moves into the district and builds a house and connects to the system, then they will have to pay that tap fee for any new users. But because of this grant, anybody that's currently a user and be tapping to the system, that's not a cost you will bear. That'll be borne as part of the district's cost.
Okay, another thing, with the existing $25, and then when it goes to $62.61, does that $25 add on to that?
No, and it's not gonna go to $62.61. We're saying that's likely what your rate will be. That
Right,
$25 base, what we'll have to do is once we get the construction cost, once we get the cost of the borrow figured out, we will work with the district to calculate a new rate. That'll say everybody pays a base amount of X dollars, and you'll pay X dollars per every 1,000 gallon you use. We'll come up with a new structure similar to your $25 and $4 per gallon. We'll come up with something similar to that, to where the average bill will generate enough revenue that it averages about $62 per
Right,
month.
see, right now, you got, so many people can't afford the rates of where they're at now. What's the disconnection fee, or disconnection rates they got
State
under right
your
now?
name, please. Like, who's speaking?
My name is Larry Noyes.
Where do you live?
I'm staying over at Justice House right now, and I'm one of his managers.
We just like everybody to speak like, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
I
Larry
understand
Noyes.
Yeah.
I understand the costs are high. If I could bring these rates down by attracting more money to this project, by God, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'd maximize what we can do for grants. What you have to kind of compare this to is, okay, yeah, it might cost me $60 a month to put in a sewer, or to pay my sewer bill, but if I have to go and spend money to put in a septic system that will meet the current discharge requirements, I'm spending thousands of dollars.
Right, and you got all the regulations and everything else.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at as far as rental properties and stuff, a lot of them are on low income, limited income, retirement income, whatever. Now, with this being 61, 62 proposed, by the time you go ahead and add in the water usage, that's probably gonna be up around, what, close to $100 a month? And a lot of people can't afford that. Cause you got people in there on NECAC, got, retired citizens that's on limited income, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, and
I
they're
understand.
stripping down everything else out.
I completely understand, and I wish there was a more palatable solution, but it may be a struggle to pay $100 a month for water and sewer, but it would be a catastrophe to try to pay $6,000 to fix a septic system. They absolutely couldn't do it, you know, so it may not be the perfect world, but it's the best world we can create with the funding that we have available. And there may be some assistance out there to help some of the very low incomes with their monthly expenses. That may be
Yeah, but what
something
I'm
to look
getting at though is, when you get people that can't afford to build, they're gonna have to move someplace else where it's cheaper, more affordable for them. So that's gonna reduce the, number of usage bases down.
And that's a good point. I would encourage you, if you're concerned about that, look at some of the neighboring communities' sewer rates. You know, these communities that maybe used to pay $8 or $20 a month for sewer, that's not the reality anymore. The average rate for sewer in our 3-county region that we serve is over $45 a month. That's average. There's some that's paying 80, there's some that's paying 40, but it's going higher and higher and higher, and I think that trend will continue. So, should you be threatened by a neighboring community that can do it much cheaper? No, because it's just a matter of time until their costs catch up to your cost.
Well, see, another issue too, that with the maintenance operation and all that stuff, after the first year, a lot of the coal generated power plants are gonna be shut down. So then you're not gonna have efficiency with electricity usage, and the rates are gonna be going out the roof.
Well, we've tried to predict what those rates are gonna be. We're using, the engineers designed 3-phase power coming to it, be high performance, high efficiency pumps. We wanna minimize that utility cost.
Right.
As I said earlier, the bulk of that number is the cost per gallon that the district is paying to the city of Troy. That's the bulk of that number. It's not, the three main maintenance issues are the cost for the operation maintenance, fees to the city of Troy, electricity, and then maintenance. Cleaning out a clog, cleaning out a screen, replacing a pump, those are the three primary costs that go into that.
Right.
And the big one is the payment back to the city. Great questions, I appreciate it.
Monthly cost. You project 6261, is the monthly cost, whatever that ends up being, gonna be a flat rate, or is there gonna be additional onto that based on your water usage?
No, that's a great question. It will be, we will develop a rate structure. We don't have it developed yet because we don't have the final cost. The way it will be structured is everybody on the system will pay a base rate. 25 a month, or 30 a month, or whatever calculates out. And then you will pay so much per every 1,000 gallons that you use thereafter. So you may be a small, low-income family, an elderly lady living by herself, may only use 2,000 gallons of water a month. So your rate's gonna be
Are you gonna
less.
base that on wintertime usage or summer usage? Because a lot of times in the summer, that water isn't going into the sewer.
Right, no, we have not done anything in terms of seasonally adjusting the rates. It's,
Because Troy doesn't, right now, Troy gets paid every month for the usage.
Based on
Now,
volume.
if Troy would adjust that, then the district could, but right now.
So for gardening and whatever, I may be better off sinking a well.
no,
Or
that
get
or
a
having
second
2 meters.
You could get a hydrant.
Yeah, you could get a second meter. You could get a second one with a hydrant that's just water. There's several communities where they do that because they wanna water their yard, or they have irrigation system, or water the garden. They have a separate meter, so they only pay water on that one. They pay sewer on the one that's hooked to the house.
So you can opt for that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty common practice. Yeah, a lot of places do it. Yeah.
You just,
I'm sorry.
How far is this gonna go out? Everybody that's on
sewer's gonna go out that far?
No.
I'm all the way out.
Where are you at?
Highway H, before you go down to the.
Are you past the creek?
No.
Are you past the creek at the bottom of the hill, past, White Oak?
I'm all the way up from Michael Drive.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna get to you yet.
Okay, here's the map.
I kinda thought I probably would be here.
Here's the fairgrounds, okay? And then here's Highway H.
You're going to Rudy Cook.
Steve, I have a question. What if people don't sign the easement?
Then it becomes an issue, it slows things down. Could, if it's unfeasible, or, yeah, it just causes delays.
I've gone, but nobody's here to talk.
The state's had a code for a long time, and the county enacted, as well as has additional ordinances on top of the state's. Been in place, I don't know. If it passed 3.5 years ago, it probably did. I would say.
It's no good, but.
It passed it.
Don't say that too loud. The question came, oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'll wait. Go
The
ahead.
question came up is what happens if we don't get the easements? Two things. It delays the project significantly and it increases the cost. So if you can do anything to help get easements from your neighbors, please help Charlie out with that, because that is the thing that can really throw a monkey wrench in the works.
Okay. I just moved to White Oak Estates, and I was told there was already easements in place where. But my question is, if we opt out not to get into the sewer, this public sewer system, later on, if we decide we want to, will we have to pay the new construction costs, just as what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Plus the tap.
So that's a good question. So what happens, it looks like from my calculations, you're adding 77, 78 additional. What happens at 50 of them say, we don't want to pay the same?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
She'll answer that.
I'm just gonna guess, you guys can hear me, but if you opt not to hook up during this construction time, and you have a failed septic system, and you get a complaint, and my office goes out and verifies it, you'll be mandated to connect to this public sewer.
But there's no guarantee the individual's gonna have a failure. So
That's
is
true.
there
So
some,
you're
so my
playing
question
the
is.
timeline, you're playing the timeline, if you do not connect and your system continues to work for 10 years,
But in the
you know,
meantime, in
15
10 years, this $62 or whatever that number is, goes up because instead of 70 users, I only have 30 users, and I just spent $1.5 million to add 30 people.
It
That doesn't make sense.
It
It
truly is
doesn't, the math
best
doesn't add up.
interest to connect now while the costs are what they are today.
Thank you.
Because they will go up in the future, as I have seen.
But there's no requirement to force the person to do that.
Well,
What happens if the public sewer system fails? Because it already is.
Paul,
It already is, right? This plant right across the road here, I live right by there.
Which one is
No, I'm
that?
not.
And it
We
smells
monitor.
up the whole area from time to time, and it dumps on my property.
That's where we go.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're taking
that
that
one,
out.
you're talking about the one on.
It was not designed for what it's doing.
Right, but
See, it originally was only meant for those 8 houses, and they have continuously put the church up the road is now hooked into it, so that is where the problem is coming from.
The district
They
stepped
said
in
that's gonna
and
be
really
the
helped
first
you
one to
out
go.
on that project.
you took that.
Well, that was ridiculous. to hook up
Hey,
to
the
it.
guy,
It hasn't worked since it's
the
been.
guy
hooked up.
built it.
I've been monitoring what the reports that are coming in. It's working right at design flow at this time, and it's meeting the limits for.
It's
the-
constantly dumping from time to time. It smells horrible.
Well,
That whole area.
it's supposed to discharge, it's designed to discharge.
Did you see what the stream looks like that's
I
coming out of it?
haven't been
It looks
inspecting it.
toxic.
Well,
That's
we.
what we wanna take
Hey,
out.
that's one, that's
Yeah, that
that's what
one-
we're trying to correct right now,
Plan is
get
for
rid
that
of
one to
it.
completely
We
go.
stepped in as a district and
It
helped.
should have never been hooked up like that.
Hey,
Right.
It don't blame the district, but we didn't hook it up.
It wasn't the district project.
It was
the
not
district is just
project.
taking over here later to get that.
I think it was the person
It
who
was the
built
person, it was the property village.
It was the developer.
It was the developer that did that, but it was only meant
And
for
he
those
left
8
the
houses.
country and went over to New Mexico and killed, and died or got killed. The guy that designed it, we took it off you people's hands, the one that lives on Kaplan Drive.
So we are definitely in this project.
Huh?
Yes.
But you're in the project before that project.
Yeah, yeah.
You're in the project before that project.
We're actually past that treatment plant.
We live on Hilltop
We
Drive.
live on Hilltop.
Up on the
Okay, so
hill.
you're not going to treat.
It dumps on our property.
Right.
But we're not in that subdivision.
But the pipe that's gonna go from the existing plant to the city's connection should be going right past your property.
So we will be able to.
We keep getting told we're kicked back long.
We've gotten mixed.
This is.
I say, if you're directly downstream, if you're in the downstream of that, discharge of that treatment plant, that's right where the sewer is gonna run through.
Huh?
so.
We're no way, we need to know.
Okay.
No,
Huh?
we'll have to come see you about East.
Let me,
I knew that.
let me address the question, what happens if people don't sign up? What if our number of users, are what they are? It creates a problem. That's why when we started this process a couple years ago, we've had, I don't know how many meetings we've had here to say, hey, is there interest? Are you wanting to pursue that? At that time, we're like, we don't know any exact cost, we know it's expensive, but we don't know what your rates are. So, we just haven't started this process and said, hey, we're gonna give you a sewer system whether you like it or not. We've tried to work with the district, with the people who live out here and say, is there interest in doing this? Is this the best solution for you? And I think all the previous meetings have indicated, yes, this is about the only real permanent solution we can address. Let's do what we can to make it affordable and move forward. As we go around, we will start talking and getting user agreements, and I guess at some point, if we find out that only 1/3 of the people projected are gonna hook up, we have to rethink.
A little while ago, you said that the tap fee is prepaid for all the existing users, is what you said.
Correct.
So,
You're a water user in the district now, correct?
water user,
You're-
okay,
you're covered.
okay. you
I'm
didn't
sorry,
specify.
yeah,
you
great
water-
clarification, thank you.
Is that predicated on connecting when it becomes available?
Yes. Yeah, if they delay, if they do not connect as part of this project, then any future connection will be subject to the tap fees created by the city and the district.
You said something about having to talk to the people that are to connect you. You'd have to pay a price to.
You gotta run from where the public infrastructure stops to your house or to your.
You're already hooked up.
Okay, we're already.
You got no problem.
Okay.
But other people have to go from the main line
You're on
to
that.
their house.
You're on that.
And then,
You got
if you
no
wanna
problem.
go around your flower bed or whatever, that's, and you know where your
So
sewer
if it's
is.
10 feet, you're responsible for paying for 10 feet.
10 feet.
Right.
Okay.
And
Do you know if there's
That's what I
average
thought.
cost per
For
foot?
100 feet, you're responsible for
For 100 feet. right.
What is the average cost per foot?
We, most,
Who knows?
we bid, we
Yeah.
had a project, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I think the public bid was to connect each house, cause it was through a different process, was about $2,000 or $1,750.
Yeah, something like that.
About $1,750.
And that was average, and that was average.
And so some of them were 10 feet, and the contractor made good on that, and some of them were 250 feet, and, so, but that's an average, and that was through the process, and that, I'm here to tell you, if you hire it directly, or get a local guy with a backhoe, that price should be less than that, so, at today's market rate.
And then, so you're gonna hook up into, we have septic, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but, so you're gonna hook up into our existing septic, correct?
No, my guess is, depending on your property, but we probably connect to the pipe that's coming from your house to your septic, we probably intercept it right before your septic tank.
Okay.
That way, that septic tank can just be
Get an idea of how
closed.
much.
And then, yes, and you touched on a little bit, then their septic tank has to be properly abandoned through our office.
Yeah, when the guy hooks up your pipe to your you want him to just close out that septic tank, crush the lid, fill it in whatever sand, just get it closed properly, that way you never have to worry about it again.
Okay.
And the county can.
And the county can give you guidance on how that.
Guidance on how to close that out.
Okay. Chief Ms. Sanders.
Yeah, Kathy Booth, and I'm White Oak Estates. I've been to every one of these meetings, and this is the first one I've been to that's been a little bit negative. It has always been very positive, everybody wanting it. I don't know where those people are tonight, but everybody in our subdivision
was wanting it. So, just wanted to let you know.
And we got that sense that there's strong
Yeah, I mean,
support
I've
for
not
it.
ever
That's-
been the one that's been this negative, but, every other one I've ever been to has been very positive, everybody is wanting it.
And I'm not viewing this as negative. I understand people are concerned about the bottom line.
Yeah, I do too, and I understand that, but I just thought maybe you were getting the idea of 2/3 of the people don't want it, and that's just not the truth.
So I don't think that's the point. I think the question was, 2/3 of the people realize that their sewer bill's gonna double. And they were not aware of that until this very point.
No, we
Oh, I don't think it's gonna double.
No, ours have been doubled.
Where do you
You must be using more sewage.
No, I'm not either.
Where do you live?
We live in, Sidnerville. So,
And we've been on it. So don't
So
tell me
you're not
that.
even in our, this, you're not even involved in what
Yes,
we're.
we are.
Well, everybody in the district, pay the same
Yeah.
rate.
our rate's going up $30 a month.
So they have to come in and revise everything, so we have to increase
They
our
got
rates.
theirs.
Right, but we're gonna,
Here's let me,
We've been paying like 35 or so a month, now ours is gonna go up to 62 some a month because of this.
no, well, let me explain it to you. Wouldn't be for these people on this side of this town, we wouldn't have sewer on our part of the town.
Exactly right.
I want to tell you all that right now. We appreciate, I do, we appreciate y'all coming in and helping us get sewer over there. And that was our agreement. If y'all said, you told me, said, you're gonna quit after you get sewer over for you people. I said, no, I'm gonna stay with you until it's over with.
And
And that's what I said.
That's a good point, Charlie, and, and don't take this as negative, please. Just out of curiosity, for my own edification, how much money per month are the people that you're talking about paying to support the sewer bill I'm paying today?
They're
How
not,
much money per month?
they're not paying anything.
So
We've
what's the?
been paying it for.
But,
I don't
but here,
understand how-
but
I don't
here,
understand
here,
your point.
that's what
As
they
to how
did
they
do.
help me get sewer.
Hey, here's how they helped us get sewer. They had to pass this bond. They had to vote, the whole district had to vote on a bond. The first bond we had was 500,000. They voted for that. Then I went back and got a bond passed for $2.5 million. That's
You
the
got
bond.
it passed.
Huh?
You got it passed.
We voted for it.
But the question is.
Well,
you
hey,
didn't
Wait,
pass,
hang on,
they
hang on, hang
voted.
on. You misunderstood my question. The question is, every Friday, when you go to the bank, how much money you contribute to my sewer bill? That's
But
my only question,
hey,
Charlie.
they were helped to get us a bond.
I don't,
Well,
I asked how much money?
right, let me take a stab at this one, maybe you try to explain. It's part of being in the community. I mean, everybody's paying to make the community what it is. You know, you live on, what, you said Cinderville Road?
Yeah.
So when you moved to Cinderville Road, that road was built in 1982. When you moved in, did they charge you what it cost to use that road from 2000 and whatever to 1982?
I have no idea. I've only been there.
Right, they didn't. The taxes for the were paid from 1982 till that date were used to make that road. But yet the entire community bore the cost of that, knowing full well there will be additional users on that road. It's part of having community infrastructure. A
So
water
it's a
system and a
tax
sewer
increase.
system is the same thing. It's a community. We're all tapping into the same system. The more people you spread the cost across, the more people are getting the service, and it also is keeping the rates affordable. So I understand it may not seem totally fair, it may not seem like the right way to do it, but that's kind of the way community development happens.
You've answered the question. The question is a community affair.
It is.
I'm bearing the cost of something that I don't have. It's gonna cost me more, so the other community. Now, does that increase the property value? Probably not for me.
And I'll just throw in something there, if the entire district had no sewer, and we would add the project that's already existing into this project, those rates would be higher than they are today, because the costs are higher now than what they were 2 years ago, or whenever that was put in. So I mean, that would be probably the same rate. If we did this 10 years ago, we'd probably be paying the same rate that we.
I just want you to call a spade a spade. 177 people are gonna, water bills are gonna go up $35 a month, so that 77 more people can get sewer. Just call it like it is, quit trying to sugarcoat.
We're not trying to hide nothing, Ron.
I didn't say hide it, I say that's
That's what, I mean, that's what it
the
looks
fact.
like. But see,
Is
Ron,
that not a fact?
what I'm
Steve,
trying to
is that not a
explain.
Yeah, I was trying to be
That's
direct,
fine.
saying it's a community, we're all paying, we're all chipping into it, and,
That's what they
yeah.
did when they came in and helped us pass the bond. If they hadn't helped us pass this bond, we wouldn't have been where we were today back there.
I've never been accused of sugarcoating something, so thank you.
Maybe we word this a little bit different. If they wouldn't have did this in 2 phases, if they would've did it all at once, back when they did phase 1, you would've been paying a whole lot more
Well, then it should've
back when
been a
phase
little
1
bit
went
equal.
in. But they put it in, so the first phase went in cheaper, till they could get back to get additional grant money to put in phase 2.
Well, all we do is have problems with it.
What's that? Problem with what?
Well, as much as we spend and someone's always out there repairing, look at the repairs. Well, look how much we spend.
I mean, I don't understand what you're spending. What are you spending?
Well, either, you know what we're spending,
On-
either you're just paying someone that we shouldn't be paying, or there's too many repairs out there all the time.
Repairs
Look at
not
our-
work.
look-
Like
Charlie,
what
you
that
know
means?
exactly.
Are you on
what
water
I'm-
or sewer, or what are you talking
Oh,
about?
you mean at
On
your
the
house?
sewer. No, not on my house.
What?
Well,
What
the
do you mean?
repairs you have done need to be redone.
What, the water lines, you mean?
No, when you came through and did it, and then came back and did my concrete.
Yeah.
Which is sinking in
You know,
when you're doing it.
I don't wanna get into that because that gets to be a touchy situation.
But it's true.
No, I don't wanna get into
Do you
that.
want me to come down there and you redo it?
Well, I tell you what, let's see if there's other questions that we can address, and then I can
That
go
can-
home and
that-
have some
that-
dinner.
Is there
I don't wanna get
230
into that.
more hookups, did you
Uh,
say, or
No,
7?
230 would be the roughly estimated total of all the hookups,
All of them together? Okay.
everything, the community, yeah.
I have a question. In the real world, let's be realistic. When can we start and when is the completion?
Yeah.
You have any predictions?
All right.
Spring, completed by fall,
Hey,
What about ours?
sooner.
you're,
Yeah.
I tell you what,
Front line.
the biggest thing gonna be, how quick can y'all get easement? The easement, we gotta have easement. If these people don't agree to give us easements out there, then I might as well quit what I'm doing. Not spend no more time on it. We gonna get easement. Y'all
Question
gotta
is,
work with us
Charlie,
out there to get the easement.
when can you get started in the real world?
Quicker we get the
When is
easement, the quicker
predicted?
we can get going.
Realistically, I think spring, maybe
In
sooner.
the spring then, okay.
Realistically, I mean, it can be
Okay.
sooner,
Realistic.
it can be later, it's really gonna hinge on the easements. Does everybody understand what an easement is and why we need it?
Yes.
I mean, I've done this for 20-some years, and I was talking to somebody like, I need an easement, and they had no idea what I meant. It really is just permission to put the pipe on your property. As a public entity, they can't just put it wherever they want, they have to have permission, and that's what an easement is. It gives them permission to run across your property with that pipe, so.
Are you gonna go house to house, or how are you gonna start the process of getting the easements?
I think Tina's already got, what, 18 of them?
We got 18 that we started on, down through this valley where the big main trunk line going down. If we don't get the trunk line down through there,
What's the trunk?
You got 4?
that's the big line that
Trunk
goes
line.
down where it goes to the lift station.
Trunk line's basically gonna come from the fairgrounds and go down, basically along the draw, all the way down here, almost to Spring Creek. And then there'll be a pressure main in that same corridor back up, to the top of the hill to tie into the gravity. We're gonna run this here to the lift station, and then we're gonna branch off of that in each direction. So, the main thing is the trunk line.
Could you tell us the ones
For
that's
that
on the big
corridor,
trunk line?
and then it'll be branches
This is
off.
on your website, right?
Huh?
I'm gonna go
How
with
many
no.
easements do
Maybe
you
we'll
have
this
to
in
get,
the district
Charlie?
office.
Yeah, there's a copy of it at the district.
Almost every house, we're gonna have to have an easement. So
Oh, every
basically,
house?
Yeah,
Oh,
if you need sewer and you're in this area here, or this little area here, we're gonna need an easement.
Well, how many easements have you signed?
Right now, we have 5 easements on the main trunk line. We still, do you want me to say who we need, or what?
Yeah, if we need to find out one to here.
Just how many?
Just how many?
Oh, 1, 2.
So on the main, if you got 5, you need 13.
Say, we gotta get the main line
13.
down to the lift station.
How
And
many?
that's where everybody
13 more.
goes to this.
We got 5
I've
out of
repeatedly
18.
called them, and they won't come in and sign.
We need them first.
So you got 2 unknowns, easements and whether or not the people are gonna sign up. The 77 people you talked about.
Do I, Ron?
Yeah, so you have 2 big questions. One is, are you gonna get the easements? And the second question is, how many of the 77 people will sign up?
we gotta start someplace.
I have a question. The 70 proposed users, are you gonna like have them sign something saying, are they gonna hook up or not, so we know like,
Yeah, at some point they need to sign that user agreement.
so
with
we'll
the
know the
district.
numbers before, like we start financing? Like how many it'll be divided by?
I would recommend that they sign something on a hookup when they sign an easement. And if they wanna sign an easement but not hook up, then you'll know at that point too.
Yeah.
So you need to get both of those documents regardless if they're gonna hook up or not.
Okay.
And some of you may, why don't we have the easements yet? Well, because until we do final design, we couldn't tell you exactly where the route is. And the easement is typically fairly specific to a piece of property. So that's why we haven't done the easements pre this time.
The only ones we kinda went through was 18, is that
That you
correct?
knew.
Yeah, the 18
Right.
through the, right
18,
along
we
the
went
creek.
down to their property,
Main stretch.
the 18. We've been down through them.
Are there any
Total, how
general?
many easements are you gonna need?
Probably,
About
my
70.
guess is about 80 easements or so.
Yeah.
85 easements.
85?
Pretty much every property that we're gonna have to run across. And the reason we do that is you don't wanna put this on like the state highway, right away. I mean, there's a corridor within highway. If we put the sewer on the state highway right away and MoDOT comes out and does any work, or they wanna move that road, then the district has to actually move their sewer at their cost. Where if we're on private easement, an easement that the district has, if there's a road alignment or something that has to be done, then whoever's doing it has to pay for it, not the district. So we're doing the easement approach to save you money in the long run.
Plus, we're trying to follow the lay of the land.
The lay of the land.
Now,
Gravity
aren't you
sewer.
the head of one of the head people in your subdivision?
Yeah, I'm the president right now.
That's what I meant. If we can work with some person that's head of that subdivision, that would help us a lot. You know, getting them easy.
We got a meeting, we'll have a meeting in October, so.
I know a lot of them is not here, it's in your subdivision, that they couldn't be here, but they want the sewer.
Right.
If you let us know when that is, we'll make sure we get easements out there for them to look at and the user agreement, so we can get all that done at your homeowners association meeting.
Okay.
That would be great. That beats going door to door. It makes it a lot more efficient.
Trying to catch up.
Charlie, how many do you need in our subdivision? Would it be like Schieffer,
That whole group up through there,
that's running where the creek is?
yeah, from the start, that road on both sides,
Okay.
all the way up. Stop by, Tina can give them to you.
I have
Okay.
another question.
Because
Suppose
we
like,
have meeting too.
when you do these users agreements, 20 people say they don't want it. So then we're gonna go back and revise these numbers to be like 210. And then at some point, are you gonna say this, are the people gonna get to decide if it's too expensive or not of a bill, or are we just gonna go ahead with it?
The
I
board-
tell you what, she could pretty well answer the question, out in that area, they got a big problem. Am I saying it right?
What, the septic system's failing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it won't be the district, it'll be her on you. You either gotta, if you don't deal with the district, you have to deal with her, and that gets costly. When you deal with her, it could cost you.
I mean, I can tell you what our procedure is. Like I said, we get a written complaint on your property for your failed septic system. We go out, we'll verify it. We work with everybody as much as possible to get in compliance. But if you choose not to comply, I just turn it over to the prosecuting attorney's office. And then you vetted, not court costs and all that, and you still end up being in compliance. It gets drawn out, but it does get done, yes.
Then do you still let builders come into the city and build with septic tanks? Put in septic tanks and,
Into the city?
well, into,
They,
To the district.
into the district and put in septic tanks?
no, if they're,
No longer they can put in
No.
septic tanks.
no, they're within hook up to the public sewer.
If it's available.
If it's within
If-
600 feet of the
300.
property, is it 300 feet?
300 feet.
They
They're
have-
within 300 feet of the public connection, then they have to hook up. So,
Well, does everybody pretty well understand? We gotta get those easements. So while they working on that, there's no sense of working on that if we're not gonna get even. We gotta make it all bring one click together.
Gotta come
Correct?
together. It's gotta come together.
So,
Are there general questions that we've not answered yet?
I'd like to ask one question. So now, the initial cost for each person on each house, they're gonna have to pay to get the sewer line ran from the trunk line up to their house. They're gonna have to pay to have their old septic tank removed or destroyed, whatever. And what about the $4,000 for the sewer hookup? There is no $4,000 sewer hookup?
That is incorporated already as part of the district cost, so that's not the homeowner's responsibility.
How long has that $4,000 been involved? I mean, I had to pay $4,000.
Now, wait, let's don't get into that, Jesse. Don't get me upset with that. You got more than you got coming to you when you got your hookup. You was entitled to 43 hookup. When we got through, you had 48 hookup.
No, that's not true.
You got 40, so don't come bring that up.
That's not true.
You got what you want, but you got more than what you were supposed to get. Put that in that, Michael. These ladies, I'm trying to help these people get sewer.
I'm just asking a question
Well,
here.
the question you asked is not involved.
No, the thing you're saying is not true.
It is true.
It's not true.
It is true. I don't hear them argue.
Then don't argue with me.
Exit out this door. I'm trying to help these people. You got your.
I'm just being very peaceful, asking questions.
Hey, you got your question.
You're the one that's starting the trouble.
You starting it. Don't bring it up.
Anyway,
Knock it off.
basically, we've incorporated it as part of the project for this particular phase.
We appreciate everything you've done, Charlie.
Yeah,
Okay.
he started it.
But I'll be out to see y'all, but
Okay.
each one of y'all in y'all's
Yeah, we got a
subdivision, just so we
subdivision
can get
meeting
easement.
coming up.
And the quicker I can get the easement, and while they putting their project together, we'll all bring it together.
If you have any
I
specific
told you I was
questions,
supposed to
I'll
say
hang
what you
around
tell
here
us
for a
all.
little
But
bit.
again, I'm just saying, everybody in our subdivision, and
I
I know
know.
their subdivision and the one over,
And
you know,
and I know
we've
in her
waited for this
subdivision.
for years. And this is a happy day for us. You know, everybody else has had their sewer for a long time, but we
I
haven't
wanna
had
add
ours.
something to, Stacy really helped us out a little bit with, you know, if your sewer, I would say almost everybody's sewer in White Oak and our subdivision and the other one is not in compliance. And anybody, the person who complained about ours lived on the other side of Hawk Point. But because he complained, Stacy had to act on it, which we put $1,800 in it to get it, you know, for right now. But I'm saying to you that anybody can complain, then you're gonna spend $8,000 getting yours in, and then 1 year later, it may not be in compliance, and you'll have to go by maybe the next year and put another. So we're talking thousands of dollars here, and that's why we're really wanting, I mean, you know, sewers are backing up in houses and everything out there. It's bad. It's bad.
I know, that's why we wanna fix it.
I mean, you're money ahead to get sewer, regardless of what it costs, then to be spending $10,000 putting in a new system that the government decides 2 years later isn't up to code and you have to do it again.
How long before the rates go up?
Okay.
I mean, it's.
I mean, like, it's gonna be put in, started next spring. How long would it take before the rates increase?
I think we can I thought we can answer about all the questions we can tonight. Most people know out there, y'all know what's going on. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you said if a person
I told you. Y'all want
How you doing, Elsie?